the start-stop button?
There we go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
More
that's
than
fine.
likely.
That's
In
fine
2
with
minutes,
me.
it's going to quit.
Okay, we're live.
We'll call this commission meeting for April 18th, 2023 to order. Start with the roll call.
Josh Jones. Here. Tim Van Hookey.
Here.
Edwin Wolhoff.
Here.
Katie Harrington.
Here.
Matthew Wells.
Here. If you will, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, this evening we just want to take a moment and thank you. There are so many things around us each and every day that allow us to see your fingerprints on our lives, and the actions that take place bear witness to who you are and the blessing that came through your Son, Jesus. Today we just want to praise you for a moment. We want to honor you as a great and mighty God. We want to thank you for this wonderful town that we live in. We want to thank you for these wonderful people who give of themselves tirelessly to continue to help guide this city in the direction that you would have for it to go. And we just ask for a blessing to be on each and every one of their heads, Lord God. We pray a thankful blessing over each and every person who works for our city, for the men who are working out in the hot sun every day, to the wonderful women who work alongside them and work here in the offices and make sure that everything gets done so that the city continues to move forward each and every day. We thank you, Lord God, for the blessing of the wonderful first responders that you have given us, Lord God, these blessed firemen who are so much about taking care of our town. It's in their attitudes, it's in the way they walk, it's in the way they represent themselves. And the same, Lord Jesus, can be said about these wonderful men who police our streets. We thank you for them. We pray safety over them and the firefighters and those who drive the ambulances, Lord God. We just ask that you would appoint angels to protect them as they go about their duties. Lord God, we see each and every day that there is so much for us to be thankful for. And sometimes we don't take enough time just to say thank you, Lord Jesus. Thank you for what you've done for us. Thank you for what you continue to do for us. But tonight, Lord God, we just want to take a special moment. Thank you for all that you're doing through us, all that you will continue to do through us, and all that will be accomplished, because we, Lord God, want to put this city in your guiding hands. We ask that you would allow us to be good stewards, speak wisdom into our hearts and mind, allow us to speak with humility and love, and allow us to be people that bring others together. Let us help to unite this city behind us so that we can continue to move forward in the direction that you have for us, knowing all that we do is to your glory. And we are only here because you have appointed us at this time. We praise you, Lord Jesus, and we give you thanks in all things. In Jesus' name, amen. Did anyone have any additional items we needed to add to the agenda this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. We have before us the consent agenda for this evening. Anyone have any questions about anything?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Do we have anyone sign up for public comments this evening? We'll move on to the old business. Item A, consideration of the body cam purchases for the police department. Chief Pickard?
Good evening. So I came before you a few weeks ago to ask for a body camera. You guys wanted me to go back and get more quotes. We did so. We went to Taser. We went to
Is the chief's mic on? I can't hear anything.
Is the blue light on in front, sir?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
So anyway, what I was saying is we went back and got 3 quotes. We went to Taser, we went to Custom Signal, and we went to, of course, the Motorola WatchGuard. These are 3 companies that we had purchased equipment from before and had good service and good stuff from them. So we went to people we trusted. The long and short of it is WatchGuard is still our recommendation. They give us all the equipment we need. They give us the services we need, and they were the cheapest quote of the 3. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Chief, are these being funded through that, the auction on the seizure of the land? Is that where the funding's coming from for these?
Well, that is certainly an option. I know we talked about it in the capital improvements back before Chief Shelton left. So I wasn't really heavily involved in where the funding was going to come from at that time. But that is an option if it's needed.
Yeah, because I think there was a significant difference between what was put in the capital improvement plan and what the total price that came back on these bids were.
Correct. I haven't really seen the capital improvement plan, but I understood what you were saying last time, but it didn't show the follow-up years.
Yeah.
Do we know approximately how much was in that sale that we could use towards the purchase of these body cameras?
It was over $200,000.
200,000, okay.
The only reason I would suggest, the first time would be fine, but in the future, because this is going to be a reoccurring thing, right?
Yes.
And so it's hard to budget out of one-time money after this. So was there any money at all budgeted for this year, Ben?
The budget was actually in the police equipment, public safety equipment, for $35,000 is what was in there.
I remember the capital, the 5-year plan, it was budgeted the first year, but the years going after that, it wasn't budgeted for.
We'll have to plug it in.
Is there a possibility that we could take that money from the sale and put it in one of these savings that we've been talking about, and then be able to reap some benefit from that to pay yearly?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Was there any other things out of that sale that has been brought to us that it could affect? I don't know.
Have we used that money to purchase anything?
No, is there anything that you foresee in the future that you have thought about using that money for that hasn't came to us yet?
There's a few things that's been discussed in-house, but nothing that I'm ready to present or really talk about. I mean, we kicked around several ideas on what to spend it on, but at the same time, my long-term goal for that money would be for that still be a resource after I leave. If we can invest it and draw interest on it and, make it last that way, so that's always a little bit of a cushion to our budget for the long term.
And so when we put our money into CDs going forward, will it be allocated per, like if we want to put that money into investments, will that interest be allocated towards
Yeah.
that account?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the ask this evening is for us to move forward with the purchase of the body cams. Is there a motion to be made?
I'll make the motion to accept Chief's recommendation on the purchase of the body cam.
I'll second.
Edwin Waha,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Jason.
Next item up for consideration is the bid of the Fort Scott Pavilion.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. We did send previously 3 rough renderings with colors, and then I redid one yesterday with the, I guess, kind of 2 different colors. The beams and columns were black, but the cladding on the roof was more of a galvanized look. And I'm not sure what feedback you had from the review board.
We have not had an opportunity yet to take it to the review board. I took those to the committee, and the committee is the one that said that they liked that black column with the galvalume roof the best. They thought that that would look the best down there. And so, based on what the other commissioners have to say, that would probably be the one that we will present to them.
Okay.
That being said, we are working with a couple of other people to try to get together a site plan rendering as well. I think I talked with you about that. I got a communication back just a little while ago about a 3D module. I'll send that to you later.
Yeah, I can send them
Okay.
our model.
Yep.
They can use that to kind of compile all that work out there.
Yes.
And I did talk to Sproles, and they were okay with, if they're approved on the bid, they're okay with getting materials, and if they need to wait after that for some period of time, which is not, a year, but a reasonable amount of time, they would, kind of hold the erection process
Okay.
until funds were available,
Okay.
hopefully later in the summer.
So what Jason is talking about is a proposal that we came up with at the Pavilion Committee on Monday, which is from the information that has been given to us by Sproles Construction. The price of the metal this Friday will be going up 8 to 10%, which will add an additional $11,000 to the project moving forward. And then my understanding is that those materials will possibly raise again in another 30 to 40 days. What the committee wanted me to bring to the commission this evening was to ask if we could go ahead and purchase the materials at the price that they are while fundraising continues to happen. There is already money set aside right now to be able to cover the cost of the materials, if that is something that this commission would consider.
How much are the materials and how much do we have?
One quick question, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, and I think I saw Rob Harrington come in. Have we verified that the T-Mobile grant is still viable? I know it originally expired October of last year. Have we made any communication with them?
So from what, we've never been told, geez, that is loud. Ms. Hayner got an extension on that when HBCAT had that grant. And then after that, we have never been told that we have to return the grant. We've reached out, I've tried to reach out numerous times, and nobody's ever contacted me back, Mr. Van Hookey, on that. We reached out. I got the email for the lady who was our contact back when we won the grant. I've sent multiple emails and nothing has ever came back from them. So they gave us the money and they've never asked for us to return it. And we've given them multiple times to say they want us to return it. So I
Okay.
would say no.
Thank you. And then if we're looking at purchasing, I'm putting a motion out there to purchase the materials based on which size that Mr. Sproles came back with.
I'd still recommend do the full 150 foot. Because again, it'll be, if you piece it together each time, your material price is going to go up, and then they got to come back, remobilize. So your biggest bang for the buck is the whole thing, and I'll have to get a breakdown of material cost. However, that if you have $100,000 budgeted right now, that the bid was less than 200, so I don't imagine materials being more than half the cost.
That was exactly what we thought. And to couple with that, Commissioner Van Hookey, from my understanding, even if we went with the smallest size presented to us, we would only see a savings of around 35,000 was the difference between going almost half in size as opposed to doing the full structure.
Okay.
The only thing that, and I know metal, he says going up, but theoretically, it could drop in 30 days also. I know when I was building my house, we waited 60 days and it dropped dramatically. My concern is we haven't even funded our 50,000 match, let alone anything over that. Even though we said we'd match 50,000, we have never budgeted it. And so really we got to come up with 140,000 out of our budget for this. And so I just don't know where we would come up with that.
Be a good fundraiser, right?
It'd be a great fundraiser.
And that is something that the committee will be working on here in the coming weeks, reaching out to different individuals. We have one meeting set for Thursday where we're supposed to go and talk, and then we have some other individuals that we've reached out to as well, and then we will be applying for at least 2 different grants to see if we can raise some additional funding for the city.
So now we're running up against the clock. The bid by the documents is typically a 60-day bid, and I think we're close to that.
Well, Jason, I think the estimated completion was 60 days too, wasn't it? In the bid package?
I'm thinking 90. Yeah, so the bid opening was January 24th, so 60 days from there is like next week. So I don't know
Okay,
if that
but I
can
mean-
turn around, and I'd have to see if I've got their bid with me.
Yeah, I thought in our package that the estimated completion from Sproul's was 60 days.
Yes, 60 calendar days. That would be
Yeah.
under Article 6.1. Bidder agrees that work will be substantially completed within 60 days after the contract.
Yeah, so what they need, so we got to go through the whole agreement process. So once they get a notice to proceed, their time starts.
Yes.
But the 60 days I'm talking about is when you submit a bid by the spec, you have 60 days to decide if you're going to award that bid. And I'd have to ask the attorney, but we could maybe say that needs extended, but the bidder would have to agree to that.
You are correct. You would have to agree.
Which,
Well, I mean,
they might.
When he's completed, he's gonna want payment, correct?
Correct. So that was the deal.
So if we're doing a fundraiser and we need 104 fundraisers and grants, I mean, we'd have to pull the money from somewhere else. But I mean, we're not going to probably raise $140,000 in time to pay through fundraisers or grants when he's completed the project.
That is correct. And what the committee was asking me to bring to the commission this evening was the possibility of just purchasing the materials right now, and then Jason was conferencing with Sproul's Construction about doing the work at a later date to be specified, as long as we don't exceed more than, did you say?
He didn't give me a time.
He didn't give a date, but yes.
Like I said, they're not going to sit on it for a year.
Right.
And then come back. But I need to ask him
Yes.
how long he'll wait.
Please, sir.
So, as a member of the committee that Mr. Wells or Mayor Wells sits on, ideally, we would like this to happen somewhat at the same time as splash pad construction, simply because having all the workers down there and doing the ground, breaking the ground and everything, it just makes more sense to us to have that all done at the same time. So that was one of reasons I believe, in my opinion, one of my reasons for asking that the material at least get purchased, because also a concern of mine is access to materials. So, you know, if we wait, are we going to be able to get some of that material in a timely fashion? Or will we be waiting for the materials to show up, which adds another 30 to 45 days on the building? So that's some of my concerns. I'm on the committee, so that just my personal concerns on holding this out and extending this out. The other comment I want to make is, Josh, if I remember correctly, and obviously this is here nor there, but at the time that the grant was awarded, I thought that there was a motion I thought the money was set aside, the $50,000 match was voted and approved to be set aside. At least that was what at the time city manager told me. So, but they're not here anymore.
It was voted to match. I just don't think finance at the time ever put it in the budget, is what I was saying. So it was approved, but whoever's
Just
doing
never
finance
got put
time
in.
never got put in the budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And Ben, that would be what you're seeing too, is that there is effectively no money set aside from what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I want to see this here, but I don't want to do a project that we have. So is there any funds that we could use to cover it? I mean, I just don't want to say buy the material.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope we get a grant.
There are a couple of sources of funds that I believe we could use to bridge the funding and then pay back either with interest at the end of the year or through these donations and grants that we plan on receiving. Would you say that is correct, sir?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you've got 800,000 in ARPA still not designated, and that's something that's away from the general fund that could be used for temporary to get reimbursed later. Like you just said,
We have 800,000 not designated
Or correct currently.
I don't know if that's correct. Well, I don't know, because I think the commission in the past has possibly used that fund for certain projects designated for it before you got here.
Yeah, and
And maybe it never got moved designated either.
And I can look at that too.
I know there's a big project, the water line, South Industrial Water Line. Where was that getting?
That was
was that?
ARPA money.
That was ARPA money.
Yeah.
And that was 500 and some thousand.
Then you've also got general fund money that you could use too.
Okay.
General fund reserves,
How much general fund reserves?
a little over 2 million. But I understand that most of that is because of the property tax
Right.
distribution is in January.
Yeah.
So we'll go through a lot of that this year.
Yeah.
But that's money set aside you could do too.
So really,
But if you're going to
go ahead.
pull from a fund, if you're going to pull from a fund, you would need to reimburse it for now, and there would need a change to the vote that took place originally. But there is lake improvement money out there as well that has been sitting there for some time.
Yeah, I think there's 200,000 undesignated in the lake improvement fund.
Yeah. I think that the sheet that I saw, Josh, had a total of 437,000 still sitting in that fund, and the treasurer's report that came in. But I do think you're right that there's 200,000 that is undesignated at this time.
You could do that too.
I don't remember what the other 200 what improvements it was designated for. Was that just? And that's maybe a later topic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, if you think there's money in the general fund, I mean, that we wouldn't, let's say, falls through and we don't pay back, we don't get grants, and you still feel comfortable with it coming out of the general fund reserves?
I do, only because last year, in '22, you had a surplus. The sales tax came in a lot higher than what we thought it would be. So that alone set aside is, over half that amount. I mean, it'd be double that amount that they're being asked. So it's a fairly good surplus that came in '22, and sales tax isn't slowing down at all. So I'd be comfortable either way.
Okay. One other question I would ask Jason on the start date for that, for wanting to try and do those projects is the same time as the splash pad, is the weekend of June 3rd, when Good Old Days is going on. That is an area that is being used down there. How long do you think it would be before the materials came in Any estimates on that?
I want to say they previously said 8 to 10 weeks, but I need to verify that.
Okay. Well,
It's
if it's 8 to
still,
10,
it's a while.
yeah. If it's 8 to 10 weeks, I mean, I think that gets us through
June, yeah.
the good old days weekend.
And the other thing, I mean,
But-
if you are going after grants, I don't know if you build it, a lot of grants won't fund something that's already built, so I know it's weird to slow down a project, but if it slows down to grab a decent grant, then it might be worth it.
The two that we're currently going after, it will not matter whether we're building or have had it built. They will be awarded based on the merit of the job and can be used in like for either services or for payment.
And Mayor, is there a plan initiated or in place, or Josh, maybe you could answer it as well, as far as fundraisers that the Pavilion Committee is looking at? Do they have a committee in place that would go forth with those, regardless of the outcome?
Yes, there is a committee that is already going after fundraising opportunities. There are letters going out to multiple individuals, and then, like I said, the 2 grants, and then we have a couple of meetings that we're going to ask certain organizations who said they might be willing to donate, and I will know better after we talk with those committees whether they are willing to give us additional funds or not, and then we have at least one other fundraiser planned.
Okay. Thank you.
And then maybe Josh will let us piggyback on a few of his fundraisers.
So really, from our standpoint, in the interest of timing and getting that thing going, we recommend approving that bid and getting that material ordered.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And just to clarify, for now, this is going to come out of the general fund, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or the reserves?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
for right now, and then we'll pay it back.
Okay. Ben, were you recommending the general or the general reserves?
It'll be general fund.
General fund, okay.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
And then we'll just go through, and then go through design review board for the colors still.
Yes. Yes. We're going to try to get the renderings done so that we can show them the proposed location. With your permission, Brad, I would like to have Bill Lemke meet me out there at the sites. One of the other items they were asking for was for us to figure a final location for the bathroom that was going to go in with the conjunction of these other 2 structures. So I need to get that decided on as soon as possible so that we can finish up the renderings and the site map. Thank you, sir. Okay, sounds good. All right, item number C, consideration of the WWTP reuse water booster system.
So this is a follow-up from a couple meetings ago for the reuse water booster pump system. Scott did get 3 bids for this. That's attached with an email from Dave Jansen. From Haynes Equipment, 27,800, Let's Van Kirk, 26,500, and Fluid Equipment is 41,000. As you can tell, the Grun-Foss pumps are the ones that we currently use at the wastewater. Even though Haynes was a little bit more, 1,300, we recommend going with that one because that is what we're used to. That is what we have extra parts in-house for.
Yes,
That is what we'd like to see voted on.
I reached out to Scott today as well, and he informed me that one of the other reasons, just for the rest of the commissioners, that they would like to go with this system is they were saving us money by doing the installation themselves, and they believe that they would have no issues installing a system that's exactly like their current system, where if they go with the other system that may seem to be a little bit less expensive by the time that there are breakers and contactors put in place, and they have to lower the grate and install the larger system, there may be a bunch of additional costs that our guys will have to incur in order to get this accomplished.
I have a question. Do you know why this didn't go out to bid?
Why it didn't go out to bid the first time?
I mean, our purchasing policy states that this has, anything over 10,000 has to go out to bid and not just 3 quotes. And so I just want to make sure, I know I had it on this a few meetings back, but anything over 10,000 should go out to bid.
Yeah, so that's what we looked at. You know, it is essentially an equipment replacement deal. So, you know, initially we had the 1 quote, so we went ahead and got 2 additional quotes. So as far as not so much a bid, but we solicited quotes from those 3 companies to present to you guys. It's kind of how I thought that was also an option, but we concur with Brad on the.
Like I said, if we need to change the purchasing policy to allow for that, I just want to make sure we're doing whatever we have written down, just so we make sure.
And that's what we understood was as long as we had 3 quotes, it didn't have to go through the whole bid process. And we did, you know, we provided some drawings as well, but.
And is that because it is strictly a equipment replacement as opposed to an installation and therefore not required to go out for bid?
That was the understanding, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we can add that, but
Yeah.
I hate to harp on it, but it's just like if you're replacing a skid steer, that's equipment replacement, but yet you still go out for bids for it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
Yep.
Can we,
I know that this was brought up a few meetings ago. We need to get the bids.
is there a way that we can take a look at that policy, send it out to the commissioners, so if we do need to make adjustments moving forward to make sure that we're following the rules that we have established, we can do that?
Sure.
Thank you, sir. So the ask this evening is to accept the bid of $27,800 for the Haynes equipment.
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Wolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. That concludes our old business. We'll now move forward to our appearances for this evening. Jesse Hazen, requesting a temporary park closure for the bike show.
Good evening, guys. Jesse Hazen, Old 54 Cycles. As you know, last year we did the Riverfront Car and Bike Show for the good old days. We'd like to do the same thing again. Only difference is this year we'd like to use the North Park on the north side of the bridge. One of the biggest complaints we had was the amount of walking, and I didn't have porta potties, which was a lapse on my part. That park already has porta potties. I talked to someone at Twisters already, and they're willing to let us use the parking lot on the other side for spectators to be able to walk over. And we would only need the road shut down for entrance and exit. It wouldn't be shut down all day. It would be just at registration time and at the end of the day, just to kind of keep people safe and not get in the way. I know that's kind of a one-way or only kind of vital way in, but it would only be closed for a small amount of time.
That would be the only issue that I foresee, is that that particular stretch of road is our truck route that allows all the travel in and out of the cell barn, and their biggest day, and they have a sale that day, so there will be a tremendous amount of semi-traffic that will need to use that road because there's no other way for them to get to it. What can we do?
And when did you say you need to close down?
Just beyond that cell barn road.
Well, he's wanting, instead of using the southern riverfront park, they're wanting to use the northern one, which is on the other side of the river where the walking trail is, and the pavilion that's setting over there across the street from Twisters. And so that would affect that one truck route, because we don't allow the trucks to come down Wall Street and National and across that bridge anymore because of the weight issues.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry,
the-
can you repeat how long and what for you needed the road shut down again? Sorry.
The road shutdown would just be for the start of registration, which I'm planning on doing at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And last year it only took a couple hours, like an hour or so, to be able to get everyone in. Then it would be reopened, and then about probably 3 o'clock, 3:30, when everyone leaves, I would just shut down so that we can get people out of the park safely, and then it'd be back open.
So if we just put some kind of warning in the road, Brad, I don't know if that would help just to slow traffic down.
Because we don't even need it completely closed down, just awareness that
Yeah,
it is.
that they're crossing and that's why I didn't know there's something the street department had that we could,
Pedestrian crossings or something.
I think we could do something.
or even if a police officer could go down there for a little bit at the,
I just don't think you can close it completely, because I know they're bringing in,
Well, that's why, if you had a police officer or a street department guy there between 8:30 and 9:30.
just with their flashers on.
through
Yeah.
Safely as they come along. It's not like it's gonna be one truck after
Yeah.
another. It's just gonna be.
So Jesse, for registration, why would you need the street blocked? You're saying for the motorcycles to come in?
Yeah, motorcycles and cars. It's just because a lot of times it is a little bit slower of a process getting people registered. I know there's not a huge amount of area, so I just worry about anything backing up onto the street.
Is there any way you could
use
do
twist.
your registration on the south side of the river and then have them, after they register, drive to the north side?
Yeah, we could do something like that.
That way you wouldn't have to block off the road. That eliminates the blocking off the road. I just know there is going to be a lot of sale barn traffic.
That's my anticipation, that there'll be a lot of semis rolling in and out, especially.
I mean, we're willing to help any way we can with police officer, street department, whatever we need to do.
Yes.
But blocking off that road's not gonna be a good deal on Saturday morning.
That's fine. We can figure out something,
Okay.
another place to do registration, so that by the time people are pulling in there, they can just pull in and go park, and we shouldn't have too much of a backup or anything.
Are you having any kind of food vendors or anything for this?
No, not yet, or I haven't found anyone to do it yet. But there's so much food vendors uptown. I'm hoping maybe just people get their stuff there, come down. But I'm open to ideas as well for that.
Excited for it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Would it be any benefit for us to close down National from there at the other riverfront park to the end of the bridge?
My only thing is, there's a lot of, that's good old days.
Okay.
So there will be a lot of traffic because
Never mind. Yeah, it was just thinking outside the box. Get back in the box, Matt.
I guess as long as I have access to, that south park, where I could use that as just like the registration area, I think we'd be okay.
Okay.
And then the actual show would be on the north side of the bridge.
Awesome.
So I'll make the motion to temporarily close down the North Riverfront and South Riverfront Road for you for those dates, that time.
Second.
And then we will provide either street personnel or some officers to be down there to help as well. Can we amend the motion to include that
Yeah,
during registration time?
Really wouldn't need too much.
You don't
of
think
it,
so?
but
Okay.
Just keep me posted, okay?
I would think-
the beginning would be the most needed for them. The end, people are going to kind of leave, come and go as they please anyway, so it's going to be hard to wrangle them. But
Yeah, I would think a sign, Jesse, of, pointing down the south end saying, registration here for car show to help filter them down there.
yeah.
All right. So we have a motion and a second.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Wolf,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. And can just anybody bring a bike or a car down? Is there any?
Bring it down where everything is cool.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Awesome.
you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Jesse. All right. Item number 3 on appearances is Dr. Alyssa Johnson. You do not look like Dr. Alyssa Johnson.
I would hope not, but anyway, on behalf of Alicia and FSCC, I'll be kind of giving the spiel today.
Okay.
Alicia couldn't be here due to prior engagements, but Fort Scott Community College has been working on our pond dam. As some of you are aware, we've been talking with some of you about a 3-phase project that's gonna include some walking trails and stuff. We'll stay with phase one this evening. I'll try to give you a quick spiel of what we're gonna do. Our pond dam is in need of restoration pretty badly. The community uses it. I mean, it'd be 20 degrees outside and you'll see people out there walking around it with their kids, their dogs, or whatever, riding their bicycles. So it's something that's very important to us, and we think it's pretty important to the community as well. What we were asking from the city is an in-kind donation. We've been working with also the county with some rock and different stuff, but we're asking for an in-kind donation of use of equipment and probably operator. I mean, we would want an operator with that equipment, but that's basically where we're at right now.
When do you think you'd need that?
It will, man, I'm going to be honest with you, Josh. It may be a little time because who knows what the weather's going to do. First step's going to be for Kansas Parks and Wildlife to come in, who we're also working with. They will come in, they'll drain the pond and try to get some anglers in and take as many of the fish out as they can at this point. And then from there, it'll go into basically just letting the pond dry. And we don't know if that's going to be 2 months. We don't know if it's going to be 6 months. It could be a year, to sit there until that silt, because the idea is that we'll use that silt to build the back side of the dam up, and then also the face of the dam to put the rock on top of it. And then we'll also try to use topsoil off of our own property to grow the wildflowers that Kansas Parks and Wildlife is wanting to put on the backside.
Did you have an estimate of how long you would need an operator for?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say, just from judgment off of cleaning out other ponds and stuff, I mean, I'm figuring probably 2 to 3 weeks to clean the pond out, and then probably another week or so. And these would be at different times, so I don't think it would all be at the exact same time. And then probably another week to week and a half to maybe push up enough topsoil that we'd be able to haul it over. And we'll do the hauling ourselves. We're kind of looking at trying to get a dump truck through our CTEC program with the heavy equipment deal. So we'll do all the hauling of the rock and everything in, and then the moving of the dirt ourselves. If we can just get the equipment and maybe a machine operator.
Yeah, and I think the fall would probably be better for us anyways, wouldn't it, Brad, if we did?
Yeah, I've been in with the committee with this, and that's what we've talked about, that, of course, until October, we're pretty much stuck. But after that, that's the best time for us, because then we can get in there. We'll have people available that can help. And plus we'll have the big piece of equipment that can go in there and do some damage with it. So Jared, you're thinking
It's
first
just,
of the year maybe?
It could be.
Yeah,
It could push out till next summer.
Yeah.
Brad.
I mean, winter would be best.
But even if it was ready, I mean, it's not gonna, if you have to wait on it, it's not a big deal.
That's not a big deal at this point, because I mean, shoot, I've seen those ponds set like that because we need to use our own silt to keep costs down and stuff, to build up with. I mean, it could possibly take us 1.5 to 2 years, and that's what we had talked about with Kansas Wildlife and Parks. If that sounds familiar to you, Brad, that their time's unknown until the dirt dries out, so we could get it moved.
I have no problem with it. I think it's going to be really good for the college and the community, so I have no problem with it.
I'll make a motion to allow Brad to work with the college on using equipment operator for this project.
Second.
Now, with that being said, before I guess we go into motion, sorry, Josh, I don't want to. I just want to say, would it be okay? I mean, you guys would be okay with the fuel and stuff. We're going to have a lot out in fuel as well, with hauling 350 loads of rock from up north on the county's quarry back down. I just want to make sure that, because if we need to help with fuel, I mean, we don't have any problem with that either. But
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page as you all.
Yeah, I mean, I just leave it up to Brad's discretion. If you think it's
Okay.
using too much, then,
Okay.
might reach out.
Absolutely.
So,
Sure, that works for me. Thank you.
Josh Jones,
yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Woha,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it. Thanks all you guys.
And next, we have Rachel Carpenter to speak with us about the 3rd Street Park project.
Good evening, commissioners. How are you guys doing?
Good, Rachel. How are you?
Doing good. So, my name is Rachel Carpenter, and I am the director of the Center for Economic Growth, a program at the Healthy Bourbon County Action Team. And I am presenting a proposal for a Stronger Together, Building Up Our Neighborhoods creative placemaking project. The Healthy Bourbon County Action Team's mission is to increase access to healthy food and physical activity, promote commercial tobacco cessation, and enhance quality of life and encourage economic growth. Our funders for this project is through the Patterson Family Foundation, Blue Cross and Blue Shield Pathways. We have had many partners on this project already through the Kiwanis, CCAP, the Chamber of Commerce, the City of Fort Scott, Kansas Health Institute, and WSU Community Engagement Institute. So what is creative placemaking? These plans have been in the works for about a year now. Creative placemaking is reimagining a place in the community to increase vibrancy, build capacity among residents to take ownership of their communities, and improve economic conditions. So it's all about community engagement. The community members were able to identify a project and identify a place on the east side. So why is the Healthy Bourbon County Action Team tackling this project? It is connected to the social determinants of health. Health is more than what just happens in the clinics. It's the social determinants of health, building connections between where a person lives and their neighborhoods, and community and social context. Through this project, we are wanting to increase community pride, build morale, and encourage healthy behaviors. To be able to make these projects happen, we had to have policies passed. So we have pledges signed with the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce, and a pledge and MOU signed with the Fort Scott City Commission. Okay, gotcha. Awesome, thank you. We have had a very trustworthy process with these plans. We created a planning committee that are comprised of Eastside businesses, Eastside residents, and community organizations on this project. We have held 3 public forums to create sustainability plans and involve the community members in the decision making. We incentivized it with free food and giveaways. We had intentional strategic communication through radio, press releases, social media, radio talk shows, billboards, yard sale signs, and even a community survey so community members could provide feedback on the plans throughout this whole process. Right now, 3rd Street Park does not have a sign, and so we want to put a big, beautiful sign there, and so we needed to pick a name. So we had a survey go out to have community members identify a name that is tied to the history and culture of the park. And 2/3 of the survey respondents replied that 3rd Street Park was the best fit for that name. So what HBCAT is going to do is put in a temple trolley, which is kind of like a zip line. We are going to have a all-inclusive swing set, or swing on the zip line. We're going to have what they call a Swizzler. It's kind of like a merry-go-round, and 2 coils that highlights the different sporting activities that goes on at the park. And we will also have stairs from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill out of the way of sledding to have easier access to getting on top of that hill.
It's our favorite sledding hill. Thank you.
Yes. We have already had some routine maintenance going on at the park. We provided funds for the Quantas and CCAP to make improvements to the existing structures, the bathroom, pavilion, basketball goal. We are proposing to the city to collaborate with us with fixing the pavilion concrete floor, updating the plumbing for the bathroom, adding security cameras, and surfacing for the existing structures. We have presented to the Parks Advisory Board, and we came to an agreement about $10,000 will cover these items, and they're in agreement with this proposal. I also wanted to thank our planning committee, Clete Hall, Belinda Bailey, Glenda Ropes, Eric Bennett, Sean Downs, Shelley Downs, Josh Jones, Lindsay Madison, and Jody Hayner. Yes, that's it. Sorry.
So is there anything that we need to approve this evening?
Yes, the $10,000 to go towards the routine maintenance of the park. Those 4 line items.
Yes, ma'am. And we have quite a bit in our park funds to be able to take care of this. And you did say that fixing the bathrooms and making sure that they were fully functional was...
Yes, that was #1 priority from the public forum.
Yes, ma'am.
Rachel, did you say $2,000?
10,000, 10.
10,000.
Yes.
I had a couple of questions on here on the policy passed of the city of Fort Scott. So where is it, tourism, or it has on here, use the hashtag BCBSKSP pathways and social media promotion relating to this effort. And then completed impact report 1 year after grant funding is approved to share your impact successes. Who Brad, would be preparing that impact report?
We would be.
Okay.
Well, I just asked
because I just asked because it's under the city of Fort Scott shall undertake the following activities, and that's under there.
Right. We're doing it in collaboration with you guys, but we would be coordinating that. Any other questions?
Commissioner Harrington, did you have a couple questions? Okay.
Does that include, is this all included with getting the concrete stairs from the pavilion down the hill as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we should get them to do the ones from the pavilion at the lake down to the swimming beach.
We can put the HVACT on that next if we want to.
It's just the 2 of us.
And you guys do great work. We greatly appreciate your willingness to contribute to our community. It's a true blessing to a lot of people.
Thank you.
All right, so the ask this evening is for us to approve that $10,000 from the park fund. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the $10,000 from the park fund.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, we have no public hearing this evening, so we'll move on to the new business. First item is a consideration of resolution number 2-2023, designating the official depositories of the public funds of the city of Fort Scott.
So, every year by state law, every year the city's got to name depositories for the city's money, where we might deposit our money. What this does is list the ones that we always list. anything, any bank that we would possibly have deposits in, this designates each one of those as depositories.
Is this usually done at the beginning of the year when we do the newspaper and all that and everything?
It can be done on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
The first meeting in a quarter. It's no real.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve that 2-2023.
Second.
Edwin Woolhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Next item for consideration is the approval of the Aquanics UV units, power and control panels down at the wastewater treatment plant.
Hello, Commission. Thank you for having me tonight. What we're going to talk about here is the request approval for a quote for the wastewater treatment plant UV disinfection system and replacement. So hopefully everybody has their paperwork. But we have a quote from EPEC for that in the amount of $360,000, $360,698.
Is this the only company that does this equipment? Because I'm just
There's a lot of
asking.
companies that do UV, but the Aquanics, the UV system that we have, I guess you could say, like, it's kind of like the grit system when they built the Headworks building at the wastewater plant. If you have the larger diagrams, you can see that it fits in there in the sense that.
So this machine only takes this product.
The location where it needs to go.
Okay.
A lot fewer modifications, yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
So more like an equipment repair then. I mean,
Just making sure we don't need 3 quotes or bids for these. This is in the budget.
It is.
Is that a yes? It is.
Yes, it is, sir.
How long will it take to get it?
I spoke with Mike Rudy today with EPEC, and we're probably looking at 16 weeks. Everything takes so long, it seems like, in the last couple of years.
Is the current UV system completely kaput, or is it limping along?
It is not dead, thankfully, because we would be in trouble if it were. But the system that's in there right now, it's very limited on replacement parts now. Any chance that we have to find UV bulbs, we usually would buy them, and but the parts are becoming more and more scarce.
Just curious, how long does like a system like this last?
The one that is put in there, I believe it was, it was put in, when it was built. Yeah. So 20 years is.
It's lived its 20-year lifespan then.
Yes,
This
sir.
portion that we're replacing isn't something that's going to be discontinued or anything like that in the next 5 years or something like that. We'll be able to get bulbs for it for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I hope so, yes.
And the bit in here about the warranty on the bulbs, is that for every bulb that they put in or just for the initial installation?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we would entertain a motion to approve the avionics UV unit.
Yep, I would move to approve the Epic Avionics UV units at the price of $360,000 and $360,698.
Second the motion.
Katie Harrington,
Yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Edwin Woha,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.
Scott, you're in these meetings enough. We're gonna have to get you a chair at the table. It seems like one of these days.
Not necessary.
Yes.
Not necessary. Didn't think so.
Would it be okay to do the old business that we had previously?
Already done it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're good
Yeah,
to go.
Jason Dickman did it.
All right, great. Thanks, Jason. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, item C, consideration of the gun park bathroom and shower house bids.
So we went out for bid for the shower house and the bathroom down at Gun Park, and it came back with one bid. It was from, I think it's Hofer and Hofer and Associates, for $295,689. Or if you go just individual, $115,000 and some change for the single bathroom, $157,000 and some change for the shower house, and almost $24,000 for removal of the existing structures.
Jason, I don't know if you can talk on why this came back a lot higher than projected.
I did go ahead and talk to that bidder, and one of the items, we had specified a certain insulation rating, which the one guy said it had added like $12,000 or $15,000. So we can look at some things that we could maybe take out of there. You know, there was a cost for demolition. Maybe the city would want to do that themselves. And that was a bid item of like $26,000. So there's a few things we could do to try to slim down some cost, but
Is there a reason why the bathroom has to be block and not just a regular structure?
yeah, one of the reasons is durability. You know, we want, you know, it's a public facility. I know you've had a lot of issues over time with those types of facilities. So what you want to be able to do is maintain it as easily as possible. So we didn't specify any panels on the walls. You know, it's going to get coating to be able to withstand some treatment. You know, so it's meant for durability, really.
Can you speak as to why we only received one bid? I mean,
Not really. Could be just a timing issue, because I'd fielded calls from at least two other contractors, so I don't know if timing didn't work out at the end or not. I don't know.
I think it was contractor's license.
Yeah, some of them wanted why they didn't have one, and others wanted one.
Okay, so we could possibly save $26,000 if the city demoed it ourselves. Okay, and then you said that there were a couple of things that would help lower the cost of the construction. So could we make those changes, remove the demo, and go back out for bid?
I would like to get with Jason and see what we can do in-house first, because I don't see why we couldn't do the foundation, the concrete, and then see where we can go from there.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so we'll have a motion to table this until Brad and Jason can get together.
Yeah, I don't know if the best thing is to table it or just reject it and then.
Just reject it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to reject the bid based on the feasibility of the project.
Second.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Item D, consideration of investing $2 million of the city funds into CDs.
This is a request for approval to go out and begin bidding idle cash. Last month, the commission approved a banking contract that gives idle fund cash interest around 3%. I know in the market right now, you can earn anywhere from 3 to 5%. And a $2 million chunk of money is a fairly sizable chunk of money. It's just, it has an ability to obviously draw more interest. We had been, through our old depository, we had been earning woefully short of that. But that's been fixed with the new depository, the same bank, but just new contract. What this will do, what this looks like is Devin would push out a term sheet to the banks and bid out a CD in the amount of $2 million over a 6-month period and get interest rates back from them just to see what that bid would look like. And we get that interest rate back on the day of a commission meeting, be able to bring that back to you guys for approval and then place the money. And that's typically how we would do it. And it might actually be the day before. It just all depends on how long they'll keep that interest rate good. The FOMC is going to be meeting, the Federal Reserve is going to be meeting in May 3rd. Right now, a quarter basis point is an 86% chance of that happening, increase. So that would likely increase rates, CD rates. So I would suggest actually doing this after that May 3rd meeting to see what kind of interest rates we're getting. Even today, interest rates went up by anywhere from 15 to 20 basis points. So they're on our way up. If you're borrowing money, that's not a good thing. If you're investing money, that's a really good thing. We're investing money, so that's a really good thing. So this just is a request to go ahead and start that process.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woolhoff.
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
Yes.
Josh Jones.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. Next item for discussion is the core community discussion.
Yeah, I asked for this to be put on there. A couple weeks ago, there was, I don't know, about 15 people attended the meeting. Thought it was a pretty good program. And then I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it from the county meeting. They presented to the county last Thursday, the link we all got. I think the county voted to put $50,000 towards it. And then I had Lisa email out some documents the other day. I guess you guys got them. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, I had a chance to actually watch the county commission meeting also in the presentation.
I asked, Bill's been a part of this from the beginning, and Bill speaks a lot better about it than I do. He's a little more in depth, so I've asked him to come and just answer questions if that's okay, if anyone has any questions. I think it's a good project. I know at the county meeting, some people said it's religious based, which it's not. I think the data shows that it's good workforce development. And it seemed well receptive from the people at the meeting. So do any of you guys have any questions on it, about it?
The only question I would have, a couple of things is, we've got Oregon, and by all means, like I said, I watched the presentation. I went through the information that was sent out to us. How does this work in tandem with? I know that we do some job and career stuff. The Healthy Bourbon County Action Team does. We have a lot of 501(c)(3)s in town that do a lot of good work for folks. But in a program like this, in a town like ours, how do they pull, other than, awareness or announcements, people to the program and its availability? I just know that we've got a lot of good groups in town that are doing a lot of good things, and I'm curious what's going to differentiate this one. I know, listening to the presentation, you know, the goal is to get someone from poverty level to middle class level. There were actual dollar figures provided in the presentation and all, but what differentiates them on how they're going to pull and attract people that need this vital service to them?
And Bill can speak on it, but the main thing I got out of it is you actually have a paid person on staff. And some of the reasons, if you talk to Circles, Choices, the reason it's failed is people get burnt out of volunteering. Is it the same people? And even with all the organizations, and Jody's, you know, got a couple people on there. But to me, the big difference is having a paid person on staff to actually do that work. And Bill, you might be able to speak better on it.
Sure. This is a structured program with data, with history, they've accomplished these things in other communities, and they've got the backup to show it. And I think that's one of the things that was distributed. The paid staff base is huge, and this isn't a program that acts in isolation. You know, it is focused on poverty, and it is, you know, very focused at its core, but still we'll take referrals from all those other organizations in our community that provide support services, but maybe not as direct and as focused of services as what this provides. So this is starts with a curriculum, a defined curriculum that walks people through the program, and then, you know, it's a course of several years where that we hold figuratively hold their hand all the way beyond the initial 16-week program. So very structured, a lot of data, a lot of history, and because the local liaison lives and works in our community, they work for this Youth Corps Ministries organization. So they have leadership and resources and peers in other communities that are doing this same work that help guide them through, you know, having the success of and you know, getting to the end result we want with people in the program.
Okay, so you get people in the program.
Tim.
Yeah, you get people in the program, and they're enrolled. A question I have is, do they do work with employees? How does it? I mean, I know the goal is economic development, but some of the numbers that they had given out in the presentation they had at the county was to get the person's salary range up to, you know, in the $50,000 range, as opposed to $15,000. We're in an environment here where our median income for a family in Fort Scott is just over $29,000 in 2022. So, are we preparing them to find jobs elsewhere? I understand that going through this program will give us a skilled workforce, but I do have just a few small concerns about doing this when our median income is $29,000. Where are the jobs at around here that are going to get them to that $50,000 goal that's in the core community program?
Just to answer your question about the recruiting mechanism, over at the Healthy Bourbon County, we contract with KU Med, and then we also have partnerships with CHC. So we have community health workers that are in our office, and they are a recruiting mechanism for us for all of our programs, whether it's Kansas Works or a Small Business Development Center in our business building. But this will also serve as a recruiting mechanism and a referral stream for the core communities. And I think that, you know, at our last meeting, we were able to show the numbers for that. Small Business Development Center have increased their numbers from 3 unique clients to 109. So I think there are people out there that want the opportunity. They just need to be shown the way.
Yeah.
Well, and if $29,000 a year is the average income level in our community, that means there's a lot of people below that.
Mm-hmm.
And that certainly with the right guidance and running through a program and having a mentor, you know, somebody that cares about them and they build a relationship with, that maybe made some different decisions or understands, you know, some things that they may do differently to get their income above that level. That's where this program's powerful. It's helping people grow in life. That's
what.
Yeah, and I'm not by any means, you know, questioning the program. It's had success in other cities. Jody, do you know what percentage of the people in poverty in Bourbon County hit those target demographics?
So I think that you're setting the measure of $50,000, and I don't think that that is going to be an accurate measure or benchmark to hit with this program.
No, that wasn't.
Okay.
That wasn't my last question. My last question was what is our current status of people in Bourbon County that in our demographics that are at that poverty level?
As far as how core communities measures it, because I mean, there's lots of different measures for that on
Sure.
number of children who
Sure.
have, free and reduced lunches. There's 200% of federal poverty level. There's 150%. But I just have to, I can bring it up on my phone real quick and tell you. But there certainly is a need for the community, for people. There is the number of people who are in poverty, regardless of the measure that you use. There's a demonstrated need for this program.
That's all the questions I had.
My question would be, where would we get the financing from to be able to benefit this program, and how much would we be looking at giving to them?
I would consider 10 to 15,000 one time. The program's set up to be funded. This thing would probably be funded on its own. It might take 9 months to a year, but I don't think it's something I would recommend funding every year. I think a one-time fund to get it up and going, and then its program, correct me if I'm wrong, is to be self-sufficient afterwards, or through, I mean, their person that works for them is actually a person that fundraises also.
Correct. The first person we hired was going to have some responsibilities in development and fundraising, as well as setting the foundation and launching the program, and that will always be part of that paid person's responsibility will be fundraising. So this is very much a seed, just get us started, upfront fund.
And then, Mr. Michaud, that the plan is then that it could progress to where there's 2 or 3 people. When it reaches 2 or 3 people, are those additional bodies funded or assisted with funding by the county and the city, or is that a stage where we've reached hopefully that self-sufficiency?
Yeah, we're gonna fund this thing or staff this thing up to the level of demand and what we can afford once we get started. So it certainly is something that we would grow into, and adding those additional staff people. And even on the front side, the community liaison, our first hire in this program, their hours of work every week depends upon the demand, the initial demand, how many people we can get involved in the program from the onset. So it may be only a 20 to 25 hour a week staff person, but if we get blown away with the demand and people really jump in head first with this program, it may become 40 hours, but it's going to just depend on kind of how the initial demand or participation we're going to get from the community.
Okay. And then have we begun to look at, I know part of the program is you establish mentors and core leaders and all that stuff. Have y'all started looking already at who those people within our community might be good choices to assist in that program?
I had the first community exposure meeting 30 days ago, anticipating that I was just building consensus and awareness in the program, and very, very fortunate that Clifton Beth attended that presentation and saw the same potential that I see, and has jumped on board. I expected to have a 9 to 12 month fundraising period and a much longer drawn out engagement from the community and fundraising. But with what the county's come forward with, we're just really early in figuring out and getting our feet planted and being able to launch this thing.
Okay.
I
Great,
think
thank you.
we had the money. We switched from the First Source building over to economic development or to the general fund, I think, a couple meetings ago. And I would recommend using it out of that. I do know Destry went down to Greensburg with a group, and he seems excited about it. So I don't know if the school or the college is willing to chip in also. That's my hope. So
that would be great if the, like I said, it sounded like a great program, Commissioner Jones. And I apologize for taking up time with these questions, but if we're looking at jumping into this thing, we want it to work, and I'm a numbers guy, so I just wanted to to get this stuff out here and see where we were at.
Do you feel comfortable with the answers given so far, Tim?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's going to be something that, economic development is and putting folks back to work and a sense of pride is extremely important. And while it's not our core function of all the functions that we have as a city commission, if we get into this, I think we need to get into it with the commission's support and work closely with this core community person, as well as this core group that I had mentioned earlier, to try to drive it to make it as successful as possible.
I know that economically, the number that I've been given for every job that we can produce in the city that has a median income of over 25,000, it is worth at least a $20,000 investment from the community in order to garner one of those jobs, because it pays back so much to the community as a whole over time. So
Is that a bid?
So
You said 15 and you said 20.
I'm not making the motion. That's just economically the number that I have been given by economists as a good judgment when you're looking at creating business in town.
When do you think this program would be up and going?
Depending on where my next step is to engage the faith community. This is it is to some degree a faith-driven program, and the sustainability of the program is going to be partly driven by the churches and their participation in the thing. So, I want to continue to build my initial funding stream. Maybe is up to $100,000. I think first year budget, we're looking at around $75,000. But I'd rather, as people are excited about the program, get as much as we can up front so we can spend as much staff time as possible getting our foundation, getting the program set it right, and doing it right the first go round. So I'm feeling like good participation from the faith community, get to that 75,000, then we can launch this thing in the fall.
I mean, have you reached out to other entities that do programs similar to this already? We have job fairs. We do a lot of stuff in the community. Have you reached out to those individuals to maybe get some ideas of what works and doesn't work in our community?
We've had 2 local meetings, and we had significant number, I don't know, 10, 12 different community organizations between churches and social service and people that have done this type of thing, the Circles program that was here previously. So all of those folks have been in attendance at these meetings and provided feedback, and pretty much everybody is, hey, this is a structured program that's run by a paid person, that's got data to back it up, and it's organized. And so we've kind of gotten that feedback that this is going to be something that everybody can work together with. And everybody's got their own little different mission and piece of what they do in our community, and this is going to fit right in.
And I'm assuming this is something that, as a commission, as far as supporting it, if it's not self-sufficient going forward, for future allocations of funds to the project, they would have to come up to a vote as well if they're not budgeted in when we work this summer on the annual budget.
Yeah, I mean, my suggestion is just a one-time thing to get us started. It's given to us as it will be self-funded. So if it's not self-funded by next year, then it's not working. So I don't foresee.
I'd go as far as to say, 12 months after official startup.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll make the motion to allocate $15,000 towards this program whenever it's within, almost start time. 30 days in advance of projected start time.
And which fund is this coming from? Did we have the old first source money we moved in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd second that.
Edwin Walhoff,
Yes.
Katie Harrington.
I'm super conflicted because we have other entities in the community that do quite a bit for us that we don't give funding for. Maybe we should give a little more funding to and help promote more. But since it is a one-time thing, I will vote yes.
Josh Jones,
Yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
No. Next item up for discussion is ready.
Good evening. I'm not sure who you want to talk with, myself or I have Peyton Coyne, who is our Secretary Treasurer, and Mark McCoy, who's our Chairman of the board. So I'm just going to sit down and let them speak. And then if you have a question specifically for me, I can answer that. So.
Yeah, and I'll just say, because I think I just asked for him to come because we haven't heard from you guys in a while. And so I was just asking Mark, me and Mark were talking today, and he said he'd come and talk about output. And so I said, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
So.
Good evening. You'll have to forgive me. I had oral surgery today, and I'm taking quite a bit of medication. So I'll do my best to try to answer any questions you might have or concerns. And Peyton is also prepared. We're here together. We are a community just like yourselves. So.
Yeah, so if you can just give me an update of what's been going on the last 6 months since basically we've had an update from you guys.
Well, first of all, let me say I'm sorry that there hasn't been an update in 6 months. We feel it's important that there is community update as well as commission update, and that we should get on your agenda maybe every other month, or if you requested it every month. I would also request that...
We have a representative that we send to Ready also. Do we not?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Van Hookey is the city commission representative on the board.
But I just know sitting on that board, there's a lot of things that needs to come from either you or him because of NDAs and other stuff like that. And it's kind of, I know when I was on there, it's kind of what we can talk about and what can't. Because I know I was told when I was on the board, don't tell your commissioners this, or which I thought was weird. So that's the reason I asked you guys to come instead of putting Tim on the spot and have to wonder what he can say and what he can't say.
Well, and I think I've been able to update you guys one time since January, the end of January, from my first meeting. So yeah, I think it's great that Mark and Peyton and Rob are here to provide any updates they can.
I won't say much. There is a considerable amount of work that goes on that is part of the NDAs. And so those discussions are not open for public discussion because it could affect a potential project. And you're very aware of that with projects that go on. So I can tell you that since becoming the chairman or president of Ready, that our board meets every month, that we have good, solid discussion. Mr. Van Hookey would know that we don't agree on everything, and that's good because you don't want lemmings marching to the sea, and that when we reach a discussion or consensus, that there's much discussion on it. So there is more than one person on behalf of Ready that work each and every day for the city of Fort Scott and Bourbon County. Ready is contracted by the city of Fort Scott and Bourbon County to provide economic development services, as well as we have an in-house grant writer, as well as we have an in-house small business development, business communications individual working for us. His name is Tayton Majors. Sorry, thank you. So it's probably easier for me to try and answer questions in regards to saying that I'll be the first one to tell you that when you get a little bit older and you take certain medicines, I do not recall everything. I think Mr. Farmer would back me up on that. And also a great President, Ronald Reagan. I just don't recall that. So it's probably easier for me and Peyton to try and answer some concerns or questions that you have. And Mr. Van Hookey can chime in. Just like this evening, he has many solid, pointed questions that revolve around discussions and or decisions that are brought up at our meetings.
One question, do you guys still have a full-time economic development person on staff, on payroll?
We have a full-time economic development person who is contracted by Ready to perform those services each and every day, who's in-house and is there Monday through Friday in the office and working diligently, and gets to see the chairman of the board / president 3 to 5 times a week. One of the things that I do when I'm on a board is I'm usually very active, or I am not going to be part of that board. So I have been in the Bourbon County Medical Facility, which is now where Ready is located. You know, we were right here at 200 South Main, formerly known as the Citizens Bank, which is Landmark Bank upstairs. And issues that were there, fantastic location. If anybody's interested in renting a place, that might be great upstairs. But you can't get in unless it's during banking hours. And so if you want to have an after hours meeting, that doesn't work. And that works very well where we are now. There has been discussions on micro meat processing plant. There's been discussions on, like we talk about this water improvements in the industrial park. We talk about grants and grant writing and the importance of that on a county-wide basis. So I think maybe it's time for Peyton to chip in or to answer another question of yours, if I answered your question.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that is different than the agreement we had when the city first contracted with Ready about having a full-time paid person on staff or not. Because we haven't heard anything about any different structure, and maybe you guys don't feel like you need to tell us that. I'm not for sure. But I just make sure we're having the same output that we have. My second question is the grants. Can you tell us what grants over the last 2 years that Ready has done for the...
I will defer to Rob on the grant writing. Rob is intimately involved with our grant writer and has conversations. I know he meets with her weekly. I've been there for a number of those meetings where I've imposed on them and came in and listened, but that's Rob's department.
I know they won the Horton Street grant. That is one big one that they did.
Major grant. But
I remember Richard Hildebrand played a big part. I know I reached out to him. And
yes, in comedy. Is that supposed to start this year?
Next year.
Next year, okay.
24.
I drive that every day, no comment. Let Rob talk about that. But I will tell you, one of the things that we would like to do is we would like to come in with Brad and initiate a conversation with the existing contract, because I do not believe that's been updated or reviewed or discussed since it was initially written maybe back in October of 2020. So I could be wrong on that. So here's Rob talking about the grants.
So we have written, I don't have my exact numbers because I didn't know. I'd have to look through our system, but I can tell you we've probably written over $1 million worth of grants for the city over the last year and a half. That includes a base grant for $490,000 for the water pipes, almost over $500,000 worth of grants for Memorial Hall. We wrote a grant for your storm sirens. You did purchase one, but we were told that they would, if awarded, they would reimburse that purchase because you had one go out. And so we contacted USDA. We've wrote numerous grants for local businesses. We've wrote some grants for the EMS system. Like I said, I don't have my grant, the page here, but
besides the Horton Street, was there any other that's been awarded?
Not yet, no. The Memorial Hall grant for $900,000 or whatever.
I forgot, when does that one do? It should be...
Yeah, they'll announce in July. And then the USDA grant for storm sirens, we were told they'll announce when they announce, because they're federal. They have to wait for federal funding to come down, and then they announce that. It's community facilities grant. I will tell you that a lot of times it's really easy to say we're going to pay people to write grants and because they're going to win them. I don't care who you are, you can't guarantee grant wins. And I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Unless you've already got money sitting in the coffers that you can give out, which we did a year almost a year and a half ago, we gave out $150,000 worth of grant funds, and 25,000 of that came to the city of Fort Scott for your park trails. But we got money from the Apex Wind Farm, $150,000 worth, and we turned around and granted that out to every community in Bourbon County, including Fort Scott, plus an organization called Kansas Rocks, and we gave $10,000 grants and then $5,000 grants. So we took money that we were given and gave it back to the community.
The one for, I didn't remember which one Fort Scott got. Which one did Fort Scott get?
We gave you $25,000 to do the gun park trails down at, I presented it to you, Mr. Halsey and Shane Walker. It was.
Oh, the pump track out front.
Yeah, I think that's what you did. Or Halsey might have used it for the actual trail, finish the trails. But we gave you $25,000. What you guys spent it on? You were supposed to spend it on the trails, or the pump track. So I'm just going to say that nobody can guarantee you a grant. The one that we wrote for the National Historic, it's through the federal government. I mean, that's every community in the United States going for that, right? So if we win that, that's going to be a huge win, and we hope we can. We hope we're very fortunate because we already have two National Historic Sites in our community, and that grant was written very competitively. We worked with the city, we worked with Mr. Wells, we worked with the Historic Society to come up with the data for that. It was a very labor-intensive grant. I would say between myself and Emily, we probably put 2 weeks of constant work on that because we were asked to apply for that 2 weeks before the deadline, and we did. We got it done. So the other thing, I know you're gonna, I will tell you that over the last 3 years, you have given over the last 3 years, you have provided Ready with a total of $210,000. It's including this year. We haven't reached that yet because this year isn't over. That's over 3 years. Before Ready was here, the last year you had a community development director and an economic development director. You paid those two individuals $150,000 that year. That's with salaries, benefits, etc. Okay, which means you paid us roughly. We saved the city roughly $80,000 a year the last 3 years. Because if you would still have those employees on staff, you would have paid them probably more due to raises and increases in salary. So we've saved the city roughly $80,000 a year.
One thing on those previous people, I know they talk about job growth. Do you have any reports on jobs created from jobs created by Ready over the last 2 or 3 years?
No, I do not.
Okay, just check.
So before you asked me that question, I was going to say where is it at now? That's $17,000 a person because we have 4 people on staff that work every day. A grant writer, our intern, Tatum Majors, our associate, Suzette Torres, and myself. So when you say, are you getting your worth, I would say you're getting more than what you pay for, simply because we're there every day making sure that we answer the phone, we answer the calls, we do the needed work within the community to make sure that your community moves forward.
We also got a housing study, retail study. We've gotten some extra stuff that within the community that is needed so that job growth is done in the community.
My question would be, if you could take a moment and stick a couple feathers in your cap, tell us the things that you have been able to do for us and for the community.
So,
Such as these job studies,
sure.
the
So we completed those. Yeah, we completed those 3 studies. Cost Ready roughly $25,000 for those 3 studies: labor study, a retail study, a housing study. That housing study has been used multiple times for developments. The MIH grants that were applied for by Mr. Woods and Mr. I'm going to butcher his name, Bill Pregnant. He used that housing study. They both use those housing studies. Those are free of charge. We paid for those, but we give those out to any developer that wants them. We've given them out to numerous developers. We paid for the sales tax revenue study, which is $25,000 for a specific project that is being worked on here in the city. And without that $25,000 project, we wouldn't have went any further. Or without that $25,000 study, we wouldn't have been able to move forward with that project and get where we're at. The other thing I will tell you is, like, I understand. I live by a motto that it's easy. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. So yeah, I don't stand up and wave my hands and scream at the mountains when something great happens, because I don't care if I'm on the front page of the paper or if I'm on Facebook and everybody's like, oh, look at those jobs or whatever Rob did. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I just want something to happen. So I'm not running down the road screaming, look at me, but we are doing things.
Here's my biggest concern is before you being a paid employee, and now Mark said, I'm assuming he's talking about you being the contract employee now, is that now you have other obligations, other duties with your company because other contracts or whatever.
Ready can pick and choose who they want to employ,
Absolutely,
not employ,
100%.
and it is none of our business who they do and don't employ. That is Ready. We just provide funding for Ready.
And I'm not saying who they employ or don't employ. I'm just talking about, 1, conflict of interest, and 2, are we getting the same output?
Well, I don't think there's a conflict of interest. I don't know what the conflict of interest would be because I'm not benefiting off anything that I do for Ready.
And don't take this, but Mark just stood up there a minute ago promoting Legacy for renting their building. And so that's the conflict of, he said, hey, if there's anyone else needing a spot, come out here to Legacy and rent a spot.
No, he said the bank.
That was the bank.
The bank.
That was Landmark.
So my thing is make sure there's no conflict of interest.
I don't think there is any conflict of interest. I don't know what the conflict of interest would be.
And then my other main concern is when this first started, we gave 3 years to be self-sufficient. How close are you guys to being self-funded?
Well, you know that. You were on the board. We kicked the can down of asking individual companies for a long time. When I started July of 2021, I told you on the very first meeting that we needed to reach out to companies and go ask for support to privately fund economic development. To this day, we have not yet done that.
And I will agree, and I'll be the one to say it. I think Mark has a better leadership as chairman, and probably that. I was hoping it would expand quicker since Mark took over, but you just said you still haven't reached out to any businesses.
Well, we have.
And I know what you. Yeah, I mean,
Just haven't
my concern is that it probably won't be self-sufficient at the end of year 3. And from my my thoughts were the whole time.
Well, because of some movements that we've made on recommendations of myself, we actually will be able to be somewhat sufficient because we cut the costs of what Ready was paying in output. So we're not paying as much in payroll as we were. And we did that specifically because I recommended that we do that. So it gives us more time to get self-sufficient. We don't have to figure that out in the next 7 or 8 months. And that was something that I recommended we do. Because again, it's not about me. It's not about how much I get paid. It's not about any of that. It's about whether this community moves forward.
And I know you have a board to answer to. It's not.
I do have a board to answer to, but I'm also a taxpayer and a citizen here.
So
I care about this community.
and I know the answer to these questions, but since we're in the public, we have to ask: is anybody else besides the county and city, any other taxing entities on the board chipping in?
No, sir. No, sir. No taxing entities are chipping in.
All right. And I,
County is giving more than we are.
yeah, the county's given more, which we are in the county. So,
But we reach, they reach throughout the county. We are just the city here in Fort Scott.
right. And I, you know, my recommendation is I don't think it's be self-sufficient. I personally don't see the output. I mean, I would seriously ask the commission to consider pulling back some of the money to ready and allocating it to other uses. So, but that's just my opinion. I don't see the benefit that I thought it would. I think the big board is not as
are we gonna,
productive.
as a city, are we going to pay somebody to write grants for us then? And that extra 3% or 10% that they add on to every grant?
We already pay SEKRPC, is that right, money to do that, and we have for 20 years, 30 years.
And how many grants have they wrote?
They've done all our CBDG grants, and I don't know over the last years, but they've done quite a few. They're I mean, a lot of counties use them. I think Mark even, did you sit on that board?
No, that's one I don't sit on. And
Rob sits on it, yeah.
Yeah.
So we pay someone already to do that.
The extra funding for that.
Yeah.
Well, then are we also going to look at hiring a community development director and an economic development director?
I would say one of those, yes.
And they're going to do economic development and the community development together.
I think economic development, I'm not a big believer in economic development, community development, tourism director. And from day one, when I started, I thought that was too much top end that wasn't productive. And so I'll be the same thing here. I mean, if it's not productive, I mean, I really had high hopes already, and Rob knows. I mean, we've talked. This is nothing against Rob. I mean, I just don't think the way it's set up is productive enough for you to achieve what you need to achieve. I think you're handicapped by how the board's set up. And I think.
Did you give them ideas on how to restructure?
Well, when one of the board members was there, she said, and she wrote a big thing, that it needs to be a smaller board to be more productive. And 2 or 3 people on the board agreed. And so I don't think that's quite happened. Yeah.
How many current projects is Ready involved in right now?
Current projects?
Yeah. Like how?
I mean, I'm not the type of person that just because I turn in a RFP, I count it as working a project. But I would say we're working 2 projects right now that range anywhere from $100 million to $30 million. So, I mean, it's not chump change. I mean, honestly, one of those projects will bring $329 million worth of tax revenue over the next 20 years. I mean, $329 million of tax revenue. And the problem I have with this, and Josh, again, don't take this personal, but everyone around this table knows what I'm talking about. So when you say there's no output, you know that there's actual conversations about output.
And you know there's been some botched output.
There has been.
Saying by you, but by the board, there's definitely been some botched output to the tune of $15 to $20 million. And so that's what I'm saying. And, you know, like I said, don't take offense or nothing.
I'm not taking offense.
I just don't think the structure of the board benefits you to do the job to your best ability.
So I would be happy to entertain further conversations with you and any of the board members outside this meeting where it would not be a conflict of more than 2. It sounds like I understand that there's questions, comments, and concerns. Having been on the inside and now being on the outside of government, I do not accept the premise that a city or a county should not have economic development interest and a person driving that. I don't know how well you can manage those things, how well you can, you know, one of the things about government is, you know, liars don't figure, figures lie. So you can create numbers and generate all kinds of things that can indicate how many jobs we had today and how many jobs we have 24 months from now. And with growth in industry, and when you take a survey and you're asking people how many employees they have, that may be one method. I don't know what other methods they use. There are statistical things that the federal government and state government can provide. But that being said, again, personally, I would be happy to get board members. We have reduced the size of the board, so the board is 3 people less than it was. Again, for example, on that subject, I'd be happy to sit down with you and any other members that have recommendations, suggestions. Again, Mr. Van Hookey sits on the board. Maybe Mr. Van Hookey and yourself would be the 2 individuals. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't make a suggestion like that, but with Mr. Van Hookey being the representative, that makes sense.
I would be happy to.
Thank you. I also think that, you know, if 3 years was discussed and 3 years was established as a target, targets are targets. They don't get always achieved or attained. When I sat here, the city has many targets. Where's the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year plan? I talked about that when I was here for a very short period of time, and we put a lot of things up on this board. And so I'm not here to criticize the city. I'm here as a citizen who volunteers on a multitude of boards, and I want to back up. One person can do many, many things. I would have put my time up against any person in the city or in the county about how many hours I worked a day and how many hours I put in on boards. And I, again, would say I was an active, involved person on every single board. I've decided to step down from boards because I think this board deserves my full attention. And I have another project. So right now I'm dividing myself 50-50. The other project is very personal. Mr. Van Hookey knows what that is. It's the rebuilding of Mary Queen of Angels Church, which our firefighters did an outstanding job of trying to save. They did an outstanding job. But those 2 things are my 2 outputs of 100% commitment to make them work. I want ready to work for the city of Fort Scott and Bourbon County, because we all need the economic development. We can go back to these topics, which is we've lost citizens in Bourbon County. We're down to 14,500. I don't know what the most current number is. You know, I attend county commission meetings. I haven't been here for a long time. I feel remiss about that, and I should be here more often, not only just as a ready supporter, but also as a citizen of Bourbon County. You know, I'm sorry, I do not reside in the city of Fort Scott. I'm 12 feet outside the city, and thank you very much for allowing me to do that. I do pay my fair share in taxes and maybe more, but I would encourage anybody who would like to be on the board to please contact Ready if they feel that there's somebody who should be considered to be on the Regional Economic Development Incorporated board. We're a not-for-profit. We're all volunteers. I care, and I'm just repeating myself. So I would love to get together with Mr. Van Hookey and whoever else you folks decide here and have much further discussions with Peyton. And our 3rd member of the executive board is Mr. Dave Stewart.
And I don't want you to take offense. I wasn't questioning how many hours you put in. It wasn't the amount of time you're putting in. You know, a year ago, I asked you to come to a meeting because I wanted you to be the intern city manager when the other commissioners were going a different route. So I have a lot of, respect for you, and you know that, and never question how much time. I'm just, other things.
I was trying to quantify, like, for example.
And I will agree that sometimes targets move, so.
Oh, I don't think sometimes. I think oftentimes. I worked for a corporation that would have yearly targets, kind of a small company.
And hopefully when targets move that we can notice that and work with people when targets move and timelines aren't meet and certain things aren't started at a date that was
right.
So.
And there should be some discussion on it, which there has been. I mean, you know, look, it's no surprise. None of us are excited, pleased, or happy in regards to the Bourbon County Medical Facility. This board here was devastated and had much involvement when Mercy decided to close. The county was very angry. So, you know, it was a significant loss. It continues to be an opportunity. We are very thankful that Via Christi is anchoring our emergency room. I'm not speaking on behalf of, you mentioned something with an L. I'm not mentioning their name. That's irrelevant in this. It's very important for the city of Fort Scott to have CHC here, providing the great services they do each and every day. I'll be out there this week for my annual wellness visit and blood test. And so, I mean, we need all these entities. I took no offense. One of the great things that when I was the interim city manager, we had fantastic conversations, discussions, and sometimes disagreements. We always left the room friends. Even Brad. Gotta have a little comedy here, you know. I mean, I'm trying not to be too serious, and maybe it's gotten too serious, but.
No, I would just, you know, the main reason, like I said, that we haven't had updates in a while, and it's concerning sometimes. I mean, at the meeting, I know we've had updates, but, you know, all the citizens don't get to see, and they can't hear everything, but it's good for the citizens, it's good for everyone to see the relationship move forward. I mean, like I said, I personally don't think the output's there, but.
If that's the case, I would ask that the city manager place us on the second meeting of each month, if possible. If necessary, from your standpoint, you want us there, we'd be happy to be there. Please don't put us at the 9:45 to 10:30 period. You know, I think that we can do a better job. I'll say we. When I was with the city, I made a point of making sure that the city people, like Scott Flater, who's still here, who's already worked a full day, doesn't have to spend the whole evening here. So if there's some time frames, it would really help people. I know Jody's still here, and she didn't know her time frame, so it's kind of nice. Jill Jaworski's here from the fort. You know, we have a police chief here. He's worked all day. He needs to be here no matter what, because we need safety and protection. And Bob, we know Bob. Anyhow, I'm musing now. I'm sorry to go on. Second meeting of each month, we'd be happy to be here.
If that's anything you wanted to add? No.
Peyton, are there any things that you would like to bring to our attention that have been positive from Ready?
I mean, everyone in this room except for the public citizens, I mean, we're all aware of what's happening. That's a major project, along with a couple of other things that you guys are aware of, and things that you guys aren't aware of, because unfortunately not everyone is privy to information, and I think that that's something that needs to be taken into consideration, that you're not always going to know everything. It doesn't mean that things aren't happening. So that's my final comment.
Thank you, Peyton.
If there's nothing else, we'll move on to item G. Discussion of the upcoming vacancy for city commissioner.
Yeah, and I asked this, you know, I'm probably just, again, not too far away. So I just asked the commission, instead of 3 people that seats are up for election, not to put someone in my spot for the next 2 years and when there's an election coming up. So if I leave before the election's here, my suggestion for the citizens is for you guys to put someone possibly in here until the election. In the meantime, I would like to have Bob work on a ordinance or charter ordinance to allow the citizens to vote on 4 people at the election. I know I won't be here past.
I know that when a previous commissioner was contemplating stepping down and did for a couple of weeks, that was what I brought to this commission, was that we have a special election because we had a special circumstance in this instance. Typically, from the turnover that I've seen throughout the history of the commission, there only seem to be 1 or 2 vacancies over the course of any term. This particular commission has seen 4 different turnovers, and I felt that it was extremely important to make sure that we're continuing to take the citizens' vote into consideration when that comes. That being said, my issue at that point was that we would then appoint another commissioner if this person had left and not come back. We would have had to appoint a commissioner that then would fulfill their role for an additional 3 years, having not been an elected person. So we would have more non-elected people on the commission than we would elected people. So I would agree that in this instance, because it is a special circumstance, that we should have an election and allow the people to decide who they want to stay on this commission.
Yeah. And I'll just say my feelings on that is I know that this commission went through and reviewed the current ordinance. I think everyone voted. I might be wrong. Maybe there was one that voted no. Maybe everyone voted for the system that we have in place now, replacing the commissioner within 10 days. And to me, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm going to miss Josh leaving. I am. I mean, him and I have disagreed on a lot of stuff. We've agreed on, I think, on the majority of things that we thought were best for the town. But to me, a commissioner leaving and moving outside of town is no different than, let's say we have an election and one of the 4-year termers 5 days into his term gets run over by the Fort Scott trolley. Now we're going to have to bring somebody in that's going to have 3.5 or more years. I mean, are we going to have a special election again because that happened?
No, and I agree the special election. I just thought the timing was unique. And so it brings up a unique circumstance. 99% of the time, what we got in place works. But we're in a unique time frame that I think works better, that 1%. But
yeah, and I understand that. I also know that, you know, I've seen some posts out there from citizens and people on the commission that overall that we are getting some good things done in this town, even though 2 of the commissioners that are here at the table are folks that unfortunately, and we're glad they did, stepped up and threw their name in the hat. So I'd like to think that we've got confidence in this town that this commission and what we are doing could do the same thing again. So I don't see rewriting the ordinance because, I mean, hypothetically, and God forbid, I mean, I was kidding about the Fort Scott trolley. We could have a special election with 4 people and end up, you know, with someone that might have to assume a 3.5-year term.
yeah, and it just, I know theoretically, whoever you put on here, replace me, will get a longer term than a person the citizens vote on at the election. And to me, that, like I said, I don't want to keep harping over it. If the commission doesn't feel like that's good, then so be it. It doesn't affect me because I won't be here. Just as a citizen, I think anytime you can involve the citizens to vote, you should.
Yeah.
Edwin or Kay, do you have any thoughts on it? So I know whether.
So then what you're saying is we'd have a special election.
No.
And if Matthew doesn't get reelected and the other 2 don't run, it's going to be me and 4 new people. I would feel a lot more comfortable having someone on board that's going to be here for a while, that when the new group came on board was already used to the Robert's Rules of Orders and the protocol and kind of how things run. But that's my opinion. And again, we just revised this ordinance a few months ago, and I would kind of like to see it stand. But I, of course, would love to hear what either Commissioner Harrington or Commissioner Wolhoff has to say.
So it does concern me a little bit that we could wind up with 3 out of the 5 commissioners that aren't elected. But being a non-elected commissioner myself, I feel like you can still step in and do a good job. So I guess my opinion would be to keep the ordinance as it is.
I mean, if you knew that you weren't going to be on the commission when we wrote this ordinance, we should have maybe implemented it at that time, since you knew you were going to build a house outside city limits.
This was actually
I
this
heard
August.
it's a compound.
Yeah, this is August of 22. So
That's when another commissioner.
Yeah, there was actually a different ordinance that was brought to the commission.
And I'm fine. I'm not going to harp on it. If
Yeah.
the three, it don't matter. I just thought it was good for the citizens to vote. If not, then we'll just
Well, it does
call it
matter.
good.
It does matter. It's just, if this ordinance could have been tweaked a little bit more, I guess, during that time, instead of writing a whole new.
We tried, but.
And so my ordinance would be a whole new
Commission
ordinance. It would
decided.
be a temporary ordinance, just, I don't know, whatever you need to write. But like I said, I think sometimes there's certain instances that come up that policy doesn't fit. And I just think that's one of these times. But like I said, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to worry too much about it.
And like, bring your house in city limits.
Nope.
We can annex that in. I mean, that is an option
In-town property taxes.
I think
Change
Josh's
the ordinance.
Josh's main point
Allowed
at this
to live
point
outside city limits.
is that right now we're having an election, and at this point we could put it on this ballot, and so there would be no need for a special election. There would be no extra cost. There would not be anything other than the citizens having a chance to voice their opinion in this election on who they wanted to stay.
Is that fourth commissioner?
And the only reason I was against a special election is because election costs $25,000.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I was against a special election, because it's extra money. But this one is as simple as filling out an ordinance, getting it in before they program the ballots, and the citizens can vote for instead of,
And your term is actually up when?
it's 2.5 years. What's this year? 2023. So the end of
26.
end of 25. So, 32 months left. So it's actually longer than one of the people getting elected will be on here. But
Well, actually, it would be two of the people getting elected if you moved it to 4 years, because you'd have to have two people that had 2-year terms. Well, you'd have to have
it'd be the same.
two that had 4-year terms and two that had 2-year terms.
Right. Right now, it would coincide with my thing, but
Well, like I said, if we want to discuss it more, I mean, I don't know how soon you're moving, Commissioner Jones.
To me, to make it fair, it needs to be done quick to get on the ballot, because all that takes time. The ballots, first couple weeks in June. So don't think it's fair to wait till after everyone's signed up to see who's running and then decide. I think if you do it now before you know who's running to make it. I mean, that's just fair to me. And I know we've talked about it at other meetings. So
Yeah.
I think we've talked enough. If you don't, I'll just make a motion, and if it dies, it dies. I'll make a motion for Bob to write up an ordinance for this year to put for the citizens to elect 4 commissioners on the ballot instead of 3, the 4th one filling the rest of my term.
So you're
And
saying
I
you're
would-
going to stay, you will stay for your term up until
The election.
the election.
Well,
How would that work? That's what I'm asking.
so in the
How
past,
would
my suggestion is to take someone that probably had some government knowledge, appoint them for 6 months or whatever, and then do it.
I don't.
Or we could do the same thing that happened when Commissioner Van Hookey came on, which was when a commissioner stepped down, whoever was the highest vote getter was added directly to the commission. And that's what they did when Commissioner Van Hookey joined the commission.
I would say
Yeah,
I'd be
that
happy
was-
to stay on, but I'll be living outside and I don't want to break the rules. So
That was, I think that was for one meeting, and it shocked me more than anyone else, Matthew. But again, I know a motion's been made.
complicated.
A motion's been made, but just discussion before the second. Like I said, we rewrote the ordinance. Things happen. There's no guarantee that I'm not going to get driven out of town before my term's up. So,
That's just my
like
point,
I
is
said-
how are we going to pull somebody in for that short term and then say, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to vote somebody else in?
I think if you let them know, I think you'll get a more qualified candidate that, trust me, there's a lot of people out there that can handle this for 6 months that are super good business people that will say, hey, I'll do this for 6 months to help you guys transition, but I'm not signing up for 2 or 4 years. So
yeah. And again, though, that kind of contradicts what you were saying. If there's a person that's willing to do it for 6 months, but they don't want to run, they're no interest in running. They're just agreeing to fill the 6-month period. Again, how is that different than us selecting someone based on our judgment if
That's where
if
I'm
someone
just
leaves.
I'm just a big believer in letting the citizens decide, especially at this time. I'm not saying that person might not be better that you pick. They might be better than anybody that's elected. But to me, our government's been based on elections, and this is just a prime example of letting the citizens vote at the right time. So
I would say because of the special circumstance and because of the timing, I will second his motion because I agree that the citizens should have the right in this election.
Yeah, we're setting a precedent for this, but that's the choice.
Any further discussion? Jeff Jones,
yes.
Tim Van Hookey,
Respectfully, no.
Edwin Woolhoff,
And because I don't agree with the precedent we'd be setting, no.
Katie Harrington,
No.
Matthew Wells.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to reports and comments. The first one being the city manager reports.
Okay, thank you. Really quick, Memorial Hall stairs update. Mid-Continental is waiting on a sealant paint to come in and should be here on Thursday. So they will be working on that to finish up the steps. They do look good, and they'll look even better with the sealant and paint on there. So that'll be done. Hopefully Thursday they'll get it in, and depending on the weather. Cooper Street update, Phase 2 up to 20th Street from East National will be open by Friday. So that'll be nice, and we've already started on Phase 3, which will go all the way to 23rd Street.
And to our blessed citizens, please, please, please do not drive past the barriers on the freshly poured concrete, we beg of you.
Yeah, that's just cost everybody time and money.
And just so I make sure you said Cooper will be open to 20th Street by Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
Just got word from Dave Bruner. We did get a KDHE waste tire grant. It's a grant to replace picnic tables at the Aquatic Center. This is a grant that Kirsten and Dave Bruner worked on and got that. So we should be getting some picnic tables for the Aquatic Center for this summer. This weekend at Gun Park, the NICA race. So if anybody's interested in going out watching the kids ride their bicycles on this race, this is really a busy weekend. We shut down Gun Park for the weekend for Frank Halsey. We appreciate him bringing the NICA race in to Fort Scott for this weekend. It should be really good. I think the weather may be chilly, but I think it's going to hold off on rain, hopefully. Just really good news. This past weekend, saw some of you here at the comedy show. Really good time at the comedy show, but there was also a lot of other things. The National Historic Site, I see Jill's here. It was the Civil War in Acton was really good. I know my grandkids enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. We also had Artificers, had a special guest. Pizza Republic had an event going on. Downtown was really busy this weekend, and that's a great thing for all of our businesses and for our citizens. So that is all I've got, and I appreciate it.
Any update on the parking? I've been hit this weekend on.
I'm
so sorry, but I had to ask about the parking.
I am going to write a letter. I'm going to try to get it done this week and have Bob proofread it and send to all businesses. We are going to enforce the 2-hour parking. We're going to set a date of when we're going to start that, and hopefully that works out.
I was asked a couple times.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Jason?
Thank you. Just a couple updates. I know Brad mentioned the steps. I did go by there and check those out and agreed everything looks good progress-wise. Also out at the wastewater treatment plant, they did get the phase 1 aeration turned on. So it's on, and they're going to be troubleshooting a couple small issues with some hoses. into next week. And the Horton and 6th Street project, we are meeting with Evergy to coordinate some relocations on May 1st. So any questions on any other projects?
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Matthew, Jason just gave an update. We're on commissioner comments.
All right, Commissioner Van Hookey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I want to say many thanks to city crews and MCR. Almost started crying when I saw Memorial Hall steps the other day. And Brad, I guess you said they're going to paint the steps. Have we picked out a color for those yet?
That'd be the grayish blue.
Okay. And did you know, I know that concrete has to set and all. Did they give you an idea of when they might get into the painting process?
The painting process is within the sealant. So
Okay.
it'll all go on at the same time, I do believe.
Okay. And then, again, congrats to Commissioner Jones and his committee. I heard some very positive things about the comedy show this week, although Brad said they didn't pick on him at this one like they did the previous one. Wish we could have been there, but I mean, it's activities like that in that beautiful building and people in town like your group and other groups that are trying to do things that is really encouraging. I did have another question, Brad. I think I mentioned it to you the other day and you gave me an answer. I forget. We've got our striping machine and our paint. When are we going to start striping like 6th Street and other places?
We've got all that ready. We are trying to get Cooper opened up so we can get on that. So we'll be doing that within the next few days.
Okay. And then
we probably won't start on a busy section because we're still learning. So we're not gonna start with a bang. And yeah, we might start over on some other street.
You need somebody that can steer straight
first thing.
Somebody that can steer straight. And then Cooper Street, that's great news. And to the other commissioner's point, please don't drive where you're not supposed to. I did have a codes meeting with the city manager and the 2 codes guys. We do have a plan in place and some metrics that we're pulling, as well as fines and our current process that's in place, and a lot of the repeat stuff that we're doing. That's under review. I hope within the next couple of weeks to have something together. And Mr. Mayor, we may want a work session on this. It'll be pretty comprehensive on what my suggestions to, but what I'm going to have to do when we get it all done is run it back past Brad again. And then I also want to take it from a citation standpoint to the county attorney, who kind of presides with the judge over these hearings in here, and make sure that when we're ready to go, that if we decide to make changes, all of the infrastructure and the pieces are in place before we vote on anything. Then something that I never thought I'd say, I don't agree very often with our governor, but I was happy that she did sign a bill exempting the streaming services from franchise taxes. I know we need all the tax revenue we can get, but I also know a lot of people in this town can't afford cable TV, and they rely on streaming TV on their Rokus and stuff like that. And I was really afraid about that, because I was thinking that, those services are just going to pass those extra taxes down to the end user. And I'd like to be able to save our folks some money that like to watch their television. And then the last thing that I had was, and Brad had sent it in his update to us. It's in the meeting minutes. I think we've all been briefed. There was a visit here last week from the folks at EPA, and he's going to get a report on that and condense it and write it up for us. And I know that's something that we all definitely want to keep kind of our eye on and our finger on when we get that information back. And with that, that is all I had for this evening. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Enterprise rental cars are, there's other municipals that are using them to acquire their fleet vehicles. I had been reached out to initially by a gentleman from Enterprise on April 25th at 11:30. He'll be here to meet with Brad and myself. And if there's any other commissioners, if we want to put it into a meeting that wants to join, if there's another commissioner that wants to join for that information, I would absolutely welcome that, because I'm hearing some pretty good things about them. And Ben, I don't know if you've dealt with municipalities that are using these programs or not, but it can actually long-term get you a better fleet and actually provide you some cost savings. So if anyone else would like to join, it's on the 25th at 11:30. If there's more than 3 of us, we'll just have to have an announcement made.
Yeah, I will say, we buy from Enterprise. We have a list of all their cars. And I will not just say Enterprise, but a lot of big companies, Coca-Cola, Frito-Lay, a lot of those have their cars that they sell, and they're maintained well. So there's a few different that would be good to look into.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I mean, you can get like police cars and items like that as well through them. So I'll be curious to see what this guy has to offer to us. And I apologize for forgetting that item. That's all I've got.
All right, Commissioner Wolhoff.
Just 2 quick things. When are we going to try to have the strategic plan work sessions?
I was going to mention that after you were done because I forgot it actually. I know ball season's coming up, track season, so it's up to you. Would a Saturday morning work better? And I think this is going to be more than just an hour, rush deal. I didn't maybe
make it more than one session.
Yeah, you can make it a couple hours one day, an hour, whatever you want to do. I mean, I'm pretty open, so it's up to, as long as it doesn't interfere with anything. I know a lot of things are going on.
Yeah. Josh?
Saturday mornings, yeah, that's probably.
Yeah, for me, it just depends on which Saturday morning it is. So I have a lot of volunteer activities that I do on Saturdays. So, but just depending on what date it is. Yes, that was.
And then we have the Lake Board Advisory also is Saturday. So depending on the day.
So how about the 29th? Anything going on the 29th?
29th of April?
Yes.
Yes. I will not be available.
I won't be here.
Okay.
Sorry.
How about the 6th of May? When's prom?
It's Lake
When's
Board.
prom?
That's prom day, May 6th, and it's Lake Board meeting is that day also.
13th graduation.
Yeah, I was gonna say 13th's getting close to graduation.
Mother's Day.
I mean, that's why. I mean, that's the hardest part because there's a lot going on in May.
Do we have a? Oh man. Is there another night that would work? Because we had two work sessions that we wanted to get set up. One was for the strategic planning, and the other was to go over our boards.
How long will it take?
The strategic plan. I think it'll take a little while.
It's going to be several hours. I mean, I would guess.
Yeah.
You want to do it all in one session, not breaking it up over a couple?
I think it'd be wise to break it up.
Yeah, I think we should pick which one we're going to do of the different strategic plans, and then see if we can coordinate where we have somebody who represents that department within our city
So
at that meeting
can
as
we
well
come
as
in-
Brad.
Like you were saying, on a Tuesday, off Tuesdays. Well, Tim, probably Monday is probably best for you, isn't it?
Yeah, Mondays would absolutely be best for me because I'm usually on the road Tuesday.
Mondays probably work best for me.
Tuesdays are gonna get rough for you, right?
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Are Mondays?
Once ball starts.
Are Mondays decent for you?
After 6 o'clock, I could do Mondays.
Mondays are better because track meets. Like
Usually
track
not,
meets
yeah.
today.
So what about Monday, May 8th? The first I have
Go into May.
Yeah, the 24th I have a meeting on Monday, and the 1st I have a meeting on Monday. So the 8th and the 15th I have open depending on what everybody else has.
I'm fine. I'd say Bob Farmer buy supper because I haven't seen a donation come in from him
Right.
for a while. So that'd be good. We'll write that down. Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Well, I think the guy that spoke the least tonight, so I think Ben's buying dinner.
Haven't seen a donation from him either.
Yeah. And he is our finance guy, so he probably has money.
So we're saying May 8th.
I've got your money.
Yeah,
The 8th at 6 o'clock?
May
I'll
8th,
get that started. We're spending money on dinner.
All right.
May 8th and 15th,
May 8th at 6 and then May 16th.
15th.
Or sorry, 15th, yes, at 6. Is that right, guys? And then as far as those two, what areas do we want to focus on so that we can let the department heads know we want to start out? Go ahead,
If I
sir.
might make a suggestion, why don't we do strategic planning for the first one? And then do the review boards for the second one, because I think from the strategic planning standpoint, whatever comes out of that first one, we pick the most important one we feel needs to be addressed first. We might need a little bit of time before the next strategic planning meeting.
Okay.
So I would go strategic plan and then review boards and then strategic plan for the next one.
Okay.
Can we have somebody put out an email?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Lisa, will you please use a cool little program and coordinate all our fun stuff? You wonderful person.
The 8th and the 16th.
15th.
Something.
15th.
I call it wrangling cats now that I've had to try to set up appointments myself. It is
I don't have it on my
mind-numbing
16th is the
fun.
last day of school.
Cool.
So the last thing I had is that I know I've been asked by some of the other commissioners and some other folks if I'm going to tend to run again. I will have a final decision on that by our next commission meeting.
Commissioner Harrington.
I don't have very much. It was great to see downtown, see Fort Scott busy this weekend. Restaurants, people walking streets, shopping. I just think that it needs to be publicized a little bit more events, not just yours. In the community, I don't think there is enough flyers put up or Facebook posted. I've just had a few people reach out stating that events in the community, they don't see very much
Do we have some type
availability.
of text caster availability like Buck Run uses?
We do. I've asked about what our first meeting we've asked has been about 6 months ago. We do have ability to use TextCaster. It'd be nice if we use that. People can sign up or
Reminders or
See
something.
if we can piggyback off of Buck Runs,
if not, Tyler, I think, has it.
Mhm.
Maybe not, but it might cost extra. But I think depending on the price, it might be.
Oh, I'll find
And
something
actually,
similar to it.
it might look, C-Click Fix might have
That's what I just thought about
an app for
getting
that.
them.
And 21 days left of school for kids to actually be in school. So, not that I'm counting.
Hey, since someone mentioned C-Click Fix, Brad, where are we at on that?
He got with me today. We're going to start well, it's already implementing, but we've got to set it up with who's new from the last time we had it.
Okay.
So
It's 20 days actually tomorrow.
20 days, yes.
21 today, but
Yeah.
it's 20 days.
All right, anything else, Commissioner?
We got to take a day off because we didn't have any snow days, so the kids are done May 16th.
All right, Commissioner Jones.
A couple of quick things. I know the aquatic center is coming up on opening. I know I see the post in the city we're short on staff. So if you have any kids that are doing it, I think the pay is $10 to $12 an hour, so that's not bad money.
Not as a kid.
Are we paying for certification?
yes,
Is that an option? Okay.
yeah, we pay for all that.
Okay.
So I mean,
That's an option.
and I think they're very generous on working with people in hours. That's why they have
Very flexible.
very flexible. So if your kids are looking for a good job to start or what, that is an excellent.
I will tell you, right now we're at least 13 down. We're 13 short, so we really need to.
Did the city do a job fair or anything when it was?
We did a job fair, yes.
Okay.
We're going to go sit at the high school, sit at the college, to try to see if we can get people to.
Reached out to the counselors or the community
That's
Community
who,
resource.
that's who we'll talk to get
Okay.
to the school.
The only other thing is, yeah, the comedy show was good. We have a bunch more planned. My only thing is, would love to get that fixed up quicker. And I don't know, I'll be maybe yelled at for this, but we have the lake money that
You're going to get yelled at.
I'm going to get yelled at.
I will send them directly to your way.
So I think Memorial Hall is a treasure for people to lake, people in town.
You want me to bring that up in the advisory?
And I will come to that too. I mean, I don't mind taking my butt chewings. Because I'm really, I mean, that thing is so amazing. Even the guys that were here, the guy that came down, I mean, he's Vegas, he's New York, and he's like, yeah, it's right now, but he said, this is just amazing. I mean, he said, to walk in his building, he said, and just look at the interest, and everything. He says, it's amazing. And we want to come back in a couple of years after it's fixed up and see what it's like. And the other guy, the opener, said, I grew up in a town with a building like this, so it brings back so many memories, and it's just unique. You don't see it no more. So I think it's that important. I mean, if we had money to come from other places, but I would like to use some of or even sell another lake lot maybe. But anyways, I wanted to look at that because I would like to somehow fast track fixing up Memorial Hall because it's been neglected for so long. And it's not just a building to hold events. I mean, it really is. It builds pride. It builds economic development. It builds tourism. I mean, it's probably the driving factor, in just about every department we have. I mean, it affects everything. So that's something to consider. You can bring it up, and I'll maybe show up.
May 6th.
Well, I would support that completely. I mean, my first month on the commission, I made a suggestion of moving lake money to needed resources in town, and this is a treasure we have. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think the projects at the lake that were out there that we were looking at, some of them, I mean, the funds are sitting there. And again, we have the option of selling additional lake lots as well. So let's do seriously look at that, because I wouldn't need to be persuaded very hard, but I do think we owe it to the folks at the lake and the Lake Advisory Board to run that past them.
Yeah, and I still think we need to do work out there. I personally don't think we need to build this massive RV park when we can't even fill up the ones at the fairgrounds, can't fill up the ones at the ones we just redid in Young Park. But there's definitely things we need to do out there.
Yes.
So
it's Jason's fault. Remember, he brought us the Taj Mahal plans.
In Jason's defense, y'all asked for the Trump Towers.
like a $2.3 million campground was what Jason brought back to us the first time.
But we absolutely need to make sure we take care of what we got out there, the shelter house, the pavilion out there, the beach. We absolutely need to put some money into that. So don't take this as lake, because I voted to put it towards the lake. Now I didn't agree with Kevin at the time saying it needs to be just for the lake. I think the money needs to be designated for us to decide, on good uses. And the lake I thought was a good use at the time. I think Memorial Hall is an equal use just as the lake. So something to consider in the next meeting probably or two before I'm
Do you
going.
have any ideas about where we could pull extra money for Memorial Hall from?
It really depends on how much gonna be needed in there, but
750,000.
yeah, so it'd come from salaries.
Salaries.
I really don't.
Hey, Ben.
Well, in that case,
Ben, I will donate all of my commissioner
That's
salary
what I
that I
thought,
get to.
Yeah,
I mean, I full-heartedly agree with Josh that we need to make Memorial Hall a priority.
And I'm not saying put it all in right now. There's, it's good. I mean, use some windows, use some tuck pointing, which is the outside, but I think we need to work on the inside a little bit too. I think.
It was hot. That was one complaint.
So the air can turn on, but it is the sound of a jet taking off. So we cranked it up until about 30 minutes before the show.
You shut it off.
And then shut it off. So some lighting. I mean, we have in December a guy that should bring in people from Kansas City, Wichita, Tulsa, Springfield. That will be a huge draw for that. But I think lighting, some
Sound.
upgrades, sound, and
Bathrooms.
bathrooms. I think 150, 200,000 would make the inside of that a real
It'll
good
help a
start.
lot.
That would make it, I mean, probably, top notch compared to a lot of places around us even. So
Something we could do before we go into a completely full-blown remodel that we wouldn't have to redo when we do that. Saying 150,000, 200,000, we could dump into it right now.
Yep.
Do those kind of repairs.
Would
Wouldn't have to be redone when we completely remodel it.
Yeah, because the big grant that we went out for is predominantly exterior work. So that, and it's actually 1.8 million in grants that we're out for that we should hear back from in July, because we were going to seal up the outside, seal the top, put new windows in, seal up all that, fix the tuck point where it's failing, seal all that, seal around the base of the building where the water's intruding into the basement, and then we were going to rehab the basement section, do work down there because we have a lot of mold remediation that we need to take care of, get rid of a lot of damaged stuff, get it out, and then make that a viable space again.
That reminds, that, as
forgot
soon
about
as he
that.
said tuck pointing the basement, where are we at on the guy to fix the basement for the drainage? What, rain or dry?
no dry, yeah.
Be here on the.
He was supposed to be at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on the agenda for this one either.
Yeah, we had asked him, I believe we asked him to hold off a week because there were,
Answer you.
sorry, Miss Lisa. I apologize,
Go ahead.
please.
He was going to come on the 2nd, but he's out of town, so he will be at the meeting following that. So May 16th.
Yeah. And yeah, he told us that there is a system set up in the basement of the Vernon County Courthouse, which is just about 20 miles away if anybody wants to go over there and check it out and see what the actual unit looks like.
I'd like to go over there. So,
Yeah.
When you want to go, let me know. Text me. We'll set
Okay.
something up.
So Brad, if you could just have Doug kind of put a list together of some things.
I would say what we talked about today, about the green room, the bathrooms, because I think
Yeah, it's pretty.
we get that.
It's pretty bad. One of the guys said, my recommendation is a private bathroom with a sink, and well, we don't even have that. So, but everything else, I mean, it's
There's still a lot of life in that place. So,
Yep.
Josh, are you gonna have 2 shows? Because I think you might even have to pull 2 shows for that.
for that one in December. I know we've already people have been reaching out already to buy tables and tickets already, and it's I think it will be a big draw.
I'd probably like to not be on the front row of that.
That one. And we are working with a couple hotels to try to do some packages on it. So
I'd like to be on about the 7th or 8th row of that one.
that's all I.
I mean, a wireless mic.
Yeah.
I mean, that quarter mic only allowed him to go so far. So
We'll get
wireless
that.
mic would
It really is a little embarrassing. I mean, because these are not small people coming to town. I mean, this guy, America's Got Talent, New York. I mean, Los Angeles. The first guy is traveling. I mean, he performed with Dave Chappelle. I mean, the people coming up in actually we're already booking out next year. This guy just performed with them. They're all over. The guy that coming in October, he was just on America's Got Talent All Stars back in January. So these are big name people. So it's a little embarrassing, but most of them have been accommodating. So, but yeah.
And we have another grant we've gone out for lighting and a sound upgrade. And that's going to be provided by some people here in town who are willing to donate their time, their equipment to do the install. So all we have to cover is the purchase of those materials. And then we have individuals here in town who are willing to hook everything up, set everything up, get it all working properly.
And I will say we've started putting ticket sales money back to it as well. It's not going to be a whole lot, and the other people using it have agreed to pay. They're based off the number of people they have also to put towards it. So there's a couple groups willing to put up some money as long as there's a good plan and it was going to go to the right thing. So and that's all I got.
just wanted to say thank you to the community for coming out and supporting the fort this weekend. For those of us that volunteer up there all the time, being able to get back to where we were before all the craziness of the last several years happened was awesome. We got people to come back, some of the guys that have come and joined us from Wilson's Creek, from Pea Ridge, Arkansas, from Springfield, from St. Louis. We had a lot of reenactors from all across the state and from Missouri come back for the first time because we haven't been allowed to do that kind of reenactment at the fort in a while, so it was awesome, and the town really showed out. We had hundreds and hundreds of people walking all over that place, and for me, it's just awesome to see it when you have all the soldiers out there and the cannons going off and the guns firing, and it was just an absolutely wonderful weekend, and I thought the weather was pretty good, but that's just me. So, couple of other questions that have continued to be brought to me by citizens. Number one is the structure that is over there on Margrave. I was told 3 weeks ago that was going to be moved, and it's still sitting in the right of way, and I keep getting phone calls.
Norm talked to him today.
Yes, sir.
And they are going to push that back. He's got to wait for the company to come
Okay.
push it back. They're just going to push it where it's at, but they're going to push it back onto his property more. And they assured us that it's just a storage shed.
Okay.
So we'll monitor that.
Yeah, and I'm not, that's for the codes guys to stay on top of. The citizens were mainly concerned about it being
so close, yes.
15 foot into the city right away, and now, yes. So that was their main concern. The other one that has been brought to me, I reached out to you about, but I've had additional people reach out to me about it. That's the unsafe structure that was burnt over on Osmond. I've had many people reach out to me in the last couple of days to see if there's any way we can just demo the house.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Can I speak to that?
Yes, sir, please.
I had a call today from one of the neighbors that's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he says, what can the city do about this, whatever? Well, unfortunately, that's not just a burnt structure. There's a criminal case filed alleging arson. So it is a crime scene. And until all the investigations are through by all the parties, there's no way we can touch it.
Okay. That is an excellent answer.
I mean, as I explained to this guy, I've known him forever.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't know what to tell you. I said, but it's a crime scene. I said, fortunately, we don't have many of those in Fort Scott.
Right.
But this one is an eyesore.
Okay. We've already got the two work sessions on the books, so we're good there. I had a question about a couple of upcoming opportunities for education. One will be taking place in Lawrence. It's about municipal grant writing. If anybody is interested at the city in going to that, I would be willing to go with them.
I want to go to that one also.
You want to go to that one too? Okay. So I'll get with Brad and Lisa, and we'll kind of get some emails going. There's a couple others that are coming up. All of these will have MTI credits attached to them, Municipal Training Institute credits. Yes. Yeah.
Do they offer remotely? Or,
Yeah.
or is that strictly?
This one is, you have to be there.
The grant one is we'd have to go to Lawrence for everybody that would want to go to it, and we'd have to get registered by the 5th. Two of the others on finance and on municipal finance and budgeting, those are both online courses that we could do. And then there's one about how to win in the media, crisis management. Might be a benefit, you never know. So, again, I just want to be, tonight I started out with being thankful, and just one more time this evening, I would like all the citizens to know that these ladies and gentlemen that I have the privilege of serving with, they give a lot to what they do here. As Commissioner Van Hookey said earlier, sometimes we do have disagreements, but I believe that we all are doing what we're doing because we love this town and we want to see it move forward. And I'm just very thankful for each and every one of them, their willingness to continue to give of their time and just to do what's best for everyone. It has been a true blessing to know that I'm surrounded with people who care so much about our community. And that goes the same for everyone at the other end of the table. You gentlemen and that wonderful blessed lady down there are a blessing to us like none other. And I just want to be thankful to God for all of you who work so hard to help make our city a better place. If no one else has anything this evening, yes, sir, City Attorney.
Just a small one.
Okay.
I want to commend former Commissioner Pete Allen for his very thoughtful letter to the editor proclaiming that our engineer is expensive but worth every penny and then some. We don't get that kind of support very much from anybody in the community, and Pete knows. It's nice to have somebody say, yeah, you're spending money, but it's an investment. It's far better than we've ever received from any other firm, and that's good to hear.
Yes, one thing that I would add to that wonderful statement is that for every dollar that we have spent with our engineering company, I believe we've seen that back tenfold in the grants and in the work that we're being able to get done moving forward on a lot of these projects. So
that's all I have.
Yes, sir. Ben, anything? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Katie Harrington. Josh Jones. Tim Van Hookey.
Yes.
Edwin Woha.
Yes.
Matthew Wells.
Yes.